Hello and welcome to Midnight Scribe's Creative Vibes, where we speak to the best of the bronies and discover what makes them tick. I've got a quick question for our loyal viewers. With a show of hands, how many of you like playing with toys? Now put your hands back down, you know I can't see them. But A for effort though. But I'm willing to wager that there are a couple of you out there who like using a few small toys and a lot of imagination to breeze through the hours. Lego, Action Man, Barbie, Skeletrix, the dreaded Furby. I still play with toys myself, I have to say. Does my Nintendo Wii U count as a toy? If it does, then my bedroom is an adult playpen. Toys, toys galore! And toys are the specialty of my guest tonight here on Creative Vibes. Someone who applies their artistic touch to MLP toys to create mashups better than a potato being run over by a Volvo. My guest tonight is the wonderful Roogna. Roogna, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
Oh, that's good to hear, good to hear. Are you not? Hopefully, you're not feeling too nervous about doing this interview. I know we're a little bit later than we'd planned, but are you feeling ready for this?
I definitely am. I've done one interview before, and I've given actually some presentations at conventions about customizing, so this should be pretty comfortable.
Well, actually, speaking of the talks you've done, I know that recently you did a talk at Geek Girl Con about your My Little Pony mashups. How did that come about? What was the build-up like?
So that was the 2014 Geek Girl Con, and it was a new way of looking at customizing, and it's something that even Hasbro's been doing a little bit in their show when they're putting in some of their background characters and hinting at, oh, well, this is really from this fandom or this fandom. And you can, while Hasbro's not making actual toys of those, you can create them yourself. And so my presentation was a little bit of talking about what mashups are and why they're so popular now, not just for My Little Pony, but for lots of pop culture. And this is one way that you can bring two of your fandoms together is by customizing ponies.
Well, customs are quite a new world for me to explore. You know, I can't say I know much or anything about them. I mean, what are the tools of the trade, and is there a particular favourite you have?
The tools of the trade is really an imagination has to be the best thing, and it's one of the wonderful things about it is it's art and it's not art, right? So everything from children to adults of any age can make their own, and there's no right or wrong. It may not be the wow, I want to pay $1 zillion and have that in a museum type of art piece, but if you're happy with it, that's all that matters. And we can, all you need is a base pony, which we call a bait, and you can use vintage ones that have been really roughly treated, though I would advise you to check with someone who knows their value before you just launch into that. The G3s are very common, and you're not likely to hurt one that's valuable on those. Or you can just go to the store now and buy one off the shelf for $5 and get some acrylic paint and have some fun.
So really, anyone can get into it.
Anyone can get into it. When I was growing up at my birthday parties, we would do craft stuff. So everybody would come and we would all, decorate baseball hats and be able to have a hat then that we'd put glitter and paint and sequins and whatever on that we'd done at the party. And now it's like you can take this and do the same thing, right? You can go buy ponies at the store for $5 or less, and everyone can enjoy creating them themselves at a party. So you don't have to feel intimidated by looking online and going, wow, there's some really amazing stuff. It's like, if you enjoy doing it, then just do it.
Well, that's great to see because I mean, on the surface, when I heard about the idea of customizing MLP toys or even just toy customization in general, it can sound like an incredibly daunting thing because you're taking something made by someone else and trying to make it reflect your own vision. So, to me that, as a man who I've said this many times on the show, I have no artistic ability whatsoever. It does seem initially quite daunting, but the idea that you can just take a pony and begin to not necessarily mess around, but start to experiment with it and actually create something new. The idea is as open as that. It's actually quite a great thought. As imagine, for example, I were to make a new customized pony. I don't quite know where to start. What sort of tips would you give me?
Well, as a beginner, I would say start simple. You can just go to your local craft store and buy acrylic paint, the cheap stuff. You don't have to get like super duper artist grades paint, and a paintbrush, and test it out. There are also fakey ponies out there, as we call them, that are basically toy ponies not made by Hasbro. A lot of them are knockoffs or sold at stores that sell those. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it on an actual pony yet, you can start on other things. But just get a feel for the paint to start out with. You don't have to worry about all the fancy stuff about putting new hair in or sculpting or any of that stuff. Just get a design in your head and try it. And the detail paintings of the cutie mark and the eyes can be kind of difficult. So you can always start off with not even repainting the whole body. Just take some acetone. Acetone by itself is best, but it's a nail polish remover, and a cotton ball, and wipe off the cutie mark that the pony has and try just painting that instead of the whole thing if you want to. But paint's really going to be your baseline to start, or you can take glitter or sequins or beads or whatever and glue them to the pony. Your imagination is kind of the limit there.
I might have to give it a shot at some point because, the last time I did arts and crafts and so on and design would have been back when I was in school, and that would have been the best part of 10 years ago when I actually gave up art. So it'd be great to actually experiment with that again and get out the old paint kit and, well, who doesn't like sequins and glitter? I'm just going to put that out there. Glitter on anything is great.
It can be as simple as just working with paint, but one of the fun things about it is it can be very mixed media as well. You can glue anything to it that you want to. If you're not comfortable making your own wings and you have another toy that, the wings broke off of and you didn't know what to do with it, you can attach those wings to the pony now and create a whole new species of pony. So you can be very, very playful with it.
Just out of curiosity, because, once again, the only toys that I'm familiar with are mainly Star Wars toys, because that was the thing that I grew up with, and I remember I used to play with, Millennium Falcons and Luke Skywalkers and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And in that fandom, if you were to, say, alter a toy in a certain way, it might get certain areas of the community a little riled up. Is it different in the MLP community, or does it actually embrace that creativity a lot more?
It embraces it very much so, but you do have to be careful with the vintage ponies, the Generation 1 that was first made in the 1980s, because those are the ones that can really hold value. Even if you look at it and you're like, wow, it's got permanent marker on it, a haircut, and a chew mark on its horn, somebody can restore it or clean it up just enough, or it's rare enough that it still has significant value. Whereas the toys in the store right now are still being mass marketed. So if you were to go to your local store and buy a Pinkie Pie off the shelf and remove her symbol and give her a new symbol, you're not taking something away from the collectors at that point, because there's a lot of Pinkie Pies on the shelves.
Well, there's no doubt there. I've seen hundreds of them.
Yes.
It's a very, very strange situation. You're just going through the store and you just see 100 Pinkies just staring you in the face. It's nice, but it's a little bit disturbing. I'm not going to lie.
And there are always going to be people that don't like it because you are taking away something from the vintage stuff if you customize one, even if it was not even restorable. But on the other hand, you're giving something new life that somebody else would have just thrown in the garbage. And for a lot of us, that makes a difference. It's like, yeah, I understand we're trying not to destroy the ones that are still salvageable, but this one was so bad that it needed a new life.
So do you see it then as giving new life to older toys then?
Definitely. And in fact, there's a new thing that's started in the past year or so, with the vintage ones especially, where the only thing wrong with them is they've received a horrible, horrible haircut from some child at some point, and they need new hair. And instead of just replacing the hair with colors that are the stock original colors, we're replacing them with alternate color schemes. And some people, again, don't like that, but it actually, if you're rehairing it at all, even with stock colors, the value drops. So there's not a benefit to keeping it with the stock colors. So we can have fun with it that way.
And how do you decide what fandoms to mash together? Because in particular, I've got to ask, when I was researching it, I noticed you combined My Little Pony with Warhammer. Epic combination, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not sure whether I want to say how or why.
When I did the Warhammer customs, I had come across the die from the game, and I was like, wow, these are a really cool set of die, and they weren't super rare on their own or anything. And, you know, it's, you take what you like or what inspires you. You know, I'm not overly familiar with that game, to be honest, but I've seen images of it, and one of my brothers has played it, and it's like, you know, it inspired me to create something. And again, even if I'm the only one that likes it, then that's good for me. I was a creative outlet. If other people like it, then wonderful. I get to share this with other people.
And in terms of the parts that you use, I mean, are Flutter Pony wings a bit of a pest to get the plastic out of when you're replacing them or customizing?
They can be. I haven't made replica wings that look factory. I've tried various experiments with other things, but usually when they break off, there's still a little piece of the original plastic tab down inside their wing mechanism, and that can be a little hard to get even with some needle nose pliers, but you do generally need to try to get that out in order to put new wings in, if you want to keep the original mechanism for them.
Well, now I'm beginning to get a flavour in terms of the concept of how to do a mashup, you know, by bringing two elements together that you love and combine them together. I mean, I know for me, if I were to bring them together, I'd be bringing together Star Wars and My Little Pony to create Derpy Vader, which I think would be all the rage.
I have created a Darth Vader pony.
Oh, what was that one like? Oh,
It's on my DeviantArt gallery. It was a commission. A coworker of my husband's commissioned me as a gift for his mother for her birthday, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's spanning multiple generations and multiple fandoms, and I get to make Darth Vader into a pony.
that is brilliant, and that mother is incredibly cool. I approve of that immensely.
Yeah.
But is it so? It is that easy then to just bring two different identities together then, and just as long as your imagination doesn't have the limit, just to go with it?
I would say yes. Part of it's going to be not just your imagination, but how much of a stickler you are for details or getting things just right. When you're scaling things down onto something like a pony, not every single detail is going to be there that you would say on a life-size Darth Vader outfit that you're going to cosplay in. You know, you have to make some calls on things. And then there's things that are more inspired by instead of literal translations. So it's going to be some of your taste, what you wanted to do with it. But the character customs that I've done, I'm trying to really capture as much detail as I can, knowing that it's going to be edited not only for size, but also because the pony shape is not a human shape.
Oh, definitely. The dimensions are a little bit different.
Just a little bit.
But, I mean, you've had stalls at a variety of conventions. I mean, you've been at Lexington Comic and Toy Convention and the MLP Fair and Convention, and you've had your customs there. I mean, what was the reaction been like to them?
Overall, very positive. There's always some people that maybe think it's kind of funny. It's a foreign concept to them to see ponies with anything else. But then, you know, I've even been with the pony convention traveling around. We've even been hosted at Hasbro's plant, and I had customs there. And there's people that work for Hasbro. They're like, "Wow, these are really cool." And I'm like, "Thanks, that means a lot." It again is a mixed bag, even with Hasbro, because they sort of embrace it and don't embrace it. They're like, "Well, this is our product. We'd rather you not change it." And then they'll turn around and they'll sell like a blank pony that you can paint yourself, or paint this area of the pony, and you're like, you're totally supporting customizing.
Yeah, I mean, Hasbro do at the moment have a bit of a sort of strange relationship with the Brony fandom in terms of what they'll allow and what they don't. I mean, it's do you reckon that's something that might, this is actually a bit of a deep question, do you reckon that might actually change a bit more now that the fandom's been going for so long, or do you reckon their relationship's going to kind of be along a similar lines of kind of occasionally putting their foot down, occasionally not?
It's hard to tell. Hasbro is, from my experience, just very business-minded. There's been lots of debate within the community about whether they are or aren't catering to bronies or other aspects of the fandom, and to what degree. And part of it just boils down to they're making a business decision at the end of the day on what they think is going to be profitable or what they think is going to compete with them. And so some of the restrictions or stiffness that they're starting to put in place on things is because they're seeing maybe a drop in their business because of the competition, even if we see it as indirect.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go a little bit further back in time, and actually let's get back to the beginning. I mean, how did you take up the art of customizing MLP toys?
Well, I started in the 1990s and was really one of the pioneers that began doing that. It was shortly after I had discovered on the internet, which was still pretty new at that point, that people were collecting, and there was a few of us that met on a pony board and were like, we also like to do art, and some of these ponies are in really bad shape. And I don't remember exactly how it got started, but then it was like, well, let's try this and see how it works. And back then we didn't have some of the supplies we have now, so we got very creative in things. Sculpting on them was a foreign concept altogether. And it latched on. I mean, I've always liked horses. I had My Little Pony toys when I was growing up, and I've always enjoyed art. And then it was like, I started it, and it was this magic moment of, wow, this is fantastic. I love this. It's a creative outlet. It's something I enjoy doing. And the fact that I've been able to, at least talk to other people about it, make them excited about it, whether or not my stuff actually inspires anybody else or not, that would be gravy. But getting other people excited about ponies in general, or art in general, or the combination, is a really wonderful thing. And I'm glad that I came across it the way I did, and that it's just, for me, been something fun that I can just do, even if it's just for me. Even if something happens and I isolate myself from the world, ponies can still be my thing that I do.
Well, you were mentioning there that you were doing these customizing as far back as mid-90s, back when the internet was in its sort of archaic state.
Right.
I mean, which, firstly, that's absolutely amazing that you've been going for so long and you're still there doing it, and you're part of the fandom and you're continuing on this great work. I mean, firstly, I've just got to say it's inspiring. I mean, what else can I say actually at that point? It's a brilliant thing, the fact that you've stayed in the fandom that long and you've kind of stuck it out. So I'm guessing you've been a fan of My Little Pony for quite a long time then.
Definitely. I had them as a kid. I remember playing with them as a kid, and went through a few years in there where they were packed up, and in my teenage years pulled them back out and went, I really like these. Let's put them on a shelf and find if other people are doing anything with them online. And oh, look, they're totally a collector's item. And it grew from there. And as the generations kept coming out, we had just started customizing shortly before the G3s hit the market. And when those hit, it was like, oh, we can totally not do anything to the vintage toys. We can just go buy a pony off the shelf and experiment to our heart's content, because I just spent $5 on something that's not a collector's item. It is a collector's item, but not in the same way. But there's still a couple of people that have been around that come in and out as their life situations change. A lot of the customizers from back in the day, as it were, have retired from customizing and have moved on into other aspects of their life. And new customers are always cropping up of all ages. It's been very nice at the Pony Fair that they have a section in their contests now that are specifically for children to enter. So they can have all of us that are quote unquote professionals doing our artsy stuff over here, and then they've got a whole section where kids that are just trying and beginning and really just getting that first moment of it can have their own section to show off.
And that's absolutely great, because then everyone's getting the chance to actually be creative and to actually enjoy it for what it is without having this sort of overt sense of competition, I suppose. I mean, well, you mentioned that you've obviously been a fan for quite a while. Do you have a particular favourite generation of MLP?
Well, the G ones are definitely my favorite generation, but part of that is probably because I grew up with them. For, people that are younger than me, that their first exposure was the G4 Friendship is Magic, that's totally understandable why it's their favorite generation. Now, I'm also a huge Villains fan, so I would say G4 is probably my second favorite, just because of some of the characters in it that speak to me on a Villains level. Nightmare Moon and Chrysalis and Discord and all of them. I'm like, yes, I like those characters.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So, are the villains your favourite characters then, or is it more on the ponies?
With the G4 Friendship is Magic, the villains are probably my favorite characters. My first cosplay ever was Gilda. I think my second was Discord. So you can see where my trend went with that.
I can see where you're going. Discord is displayed as being second, though. He wants to be number one.
I know, but he hadn't entered the show at that point, so...
That's fair enough. Sorry, Discord. You've been trumped. But, well, I'll tell you what, we've only got a couple minutes left, but I wanted to ask you, out of all the projects that you've been doing, or have done actually over the years, what has been your favourite custom project?
That's a tough question. There's always something that I find in every custom that's special, because I'm always trying to experiment, even if it's a tiny, tiny bit, with something slightly different on how I handle the sculpting, or how I handle the paint, or how I'm putting hair in. And, you always have those that you're like, wow, that's my super favorite ever that I've ever done. And then a year from now, I'll have done something else and go, that one's now my favorite. I still love the other one, but there was something new that I did. And I think it's important that you keep experimenting. And, when we first started, we didn't have some of the supplies, and we tried all kinds of crazy things, attaching them to ponies. And over the years, I find myself going to the same things of these paints and these brushes and this sculpting material, and then going, I need to branch out and try something. And, I did a Queen Chrysalis custom a couple years ago, and I found a tutorial online of how to iron plastic bags, and then you can cut and sew and glue and everything with them just like they were fabric. And I'm like, I'm totally trying that. And that's what I did her wings out of. So continuing to find that little spark is very important. And, I finished a custom for the Pony Fair this year called Stormageddon. And right now it's, of course, like my super favorite pony. I've been working on it for several years, actually. But I know that next year I'm going to work on some other project and go, wow, this one really means something to me.
So there'll always be a new favourite pony to be made.
There's always a new favorite pony, and there's always a new favorite pony by somebody else. Part of the art of it is seeing what other people do and being inspired by them. And I certainly have many customs by other artists as well that I saw it and went, wow, I need that. That's awesome. Or that one wasn't for sale, but I'm going to commission them for something for me.
Are there any particular artists there that you can think of on the top of your head?
Two artists that I have multiple customs by. One is Amber Jewel, and she's in Mexico, and just has this really unique aesthetic to the way she paints and the designs that she does on the ponies. And then another one is Lightning Mana, and she does a really good job of really experimenting with the mixed media for all kinds of fabrics and buttons and trinkets, and the finished product always just amazes me because I'm like, I don't know how you figured out to put them together like that, but I wish that I could put all of that mixed media the same way you did because it's amazing. So those are two that I can think of off the top of my head that I personally like their aesthetic and have multiple customs by them in my collection.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic to hear, but I'll tell you what, we're going to wrap up the show a wee bit just there. Firstly, because the fact that I don't want to end the last note on you advertising them. I want to end it on advertising yourself and your commissions. I mean, tell us a bit about your work and what you can offer and where we can find you.
Well, all of my pony stuff is on my DeviantArt, which is roogna.deviantart.com. And you can see everything that I've done there going way back in time because I just leave it on there. There's probably a few that back in the day didn't get pictures taken or something, but you can see everything there. My Roogna's Custom Creations is on Etsy and on Facebook, and you can contact me on through either of those or through my DeviantArt. We can brainstorm together. I can give quotes on how much something might cost for me to do, how long it might take me to do, because customs can range anywhere from a couple weeks to like 6 months to complete, depending on what all has to be done and how intricate it is. But I'm definitely easy to talk to. I also am happy to give advice if people have questions. You know, I'm not hoarding all the secrets for myself. I'm happy to tell other people, oh yeah, this is, and show you pictures like this is my tool that I use to reroute hair into them and use this size needle, and just sharing the fandom that way and getting new people into it. But as far as kind of what I can do, I'm always willing to experiment and try new things. If I haven't done something that you see in my gallery and you're like, well, I wonder if they could, you can always ask me. But I can do characters. I've done Star Wars and Doctor Who and Once Upon a Time and things like that. And then themes, everything from Halloween to Greek mythology or Japanese mythology, and or just say, you know, here's my favorite colors and I'd like it to have my daughter's name on it and she likes ladybugs, and let me have free reign and I can send pictures as we work on it. So I'm very happy to work with people as a process so that the end thing is something that they're going to like and cherish as much as I like making it.
Well, that's fantastic to hear that you're wanting to be so open about it and actually teach more people the tricks of the trade. But what we should do is put all the links into the description below, so anyone, if you want to get in touch with Roogna, learn some little tips about how to customize or to get a commission yourself, you'll be able to go there. But we have to wrap up the show there for today. Thank you so much for coming on, Roogna. I hope you've enjoyed the show.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
But we shall wrap up the show there. Look, my thanks to Roogna for being on the show. My thanks to you guys for watching. And of course, if you want to get in contact with us, well, you can get to us on our Facebook at Highland Bronies and our YouTube channel at, strange enough, Highland Bronies. And we have our email there, so you can get in contact with us if you've got any compliments, any constructive criticism. Perhaps you're a content creator yourself. Perhaps you make customs music. Do you do a talk show? Would you like to speak to me and we can do a talk show together? Just get in contact. If you've got any ideas, get in contact with us on the email and we'll see what we can do. And I think that's all it is for today. My thanks to everyone for watching. And the last word from Midnight Scribe is, as always, please subscribe.